Eureka Math, Module 4, Lesson 29. Today, our objective is to connect division by unit fraction to division by tenths and hundredths. Okay, so up until now, we've been dividing by fractions, which is what we've been practicing, right? And now we're going to be dividing by tenths and hundredths, okay? So we're going to call that 4 divided by 1/10, right? And that, you know, equals 4 divided by 1/10, right? So this is what we're doing. We're making the connection between fractions and decimals when we're dividing. So let's go to our Learn book and write your name on your page, please. Okay, divide. Rewrite each expression as a division sentence with a fraction divisor and fill in the blanks. The first one is done for you. Okay, so we are going to turn this decimal into a fraction, okay? And then we're going to talk about how many tenths in a whole and how many tenths in 2 wholes. So 2 divided by 1/10 equals 2 divided by 1/10, okay? Which equals 20. So how many tenths are in 1 whole? You already know this because a 1 whole, and if you were to divide it by 10, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you would know that each of these is 1/10, right? So how many of them are in 1 whole? There are 10 tenths in 1 whole. How many would there be in 2 wholes? Well, we would just extend our number line and add 10 more. There would be 20 tenths in 2 wholes, okay? So 2 wholes divided by 1/10 equals 20 tenths, okay? Makes sense? All right, let's go to the next one. I'm gonna erase this. That was our example. Now we're gonna go through it together. Get all these little extras out of the way. Okay, 5 divided by 1/10. So we are going to rewrite that as a fraction. 5 divided by 1/10, okay? And that equals what? Well, how many tenths are in a whole? 10. Okay, and so how many tenths would be in 5 wholes? 50. Okay, and your answer here is 50. Are we getting this? I think you guys get this, right? Okay, so 8 divided by 1/10, we can rewrite as a fraction. And because there are 10 tenths in 1 whole, we know that there are 80 tenths in 8 wholes. Okay, so this will go into that 80 times. This is easy. This is super easy. We're just thinking about it in different ways, right? We're just developing some math sense. So 5 and 2/10 divided by 1/10. Okay, so we're going to keep this one as a decimal, and we're going to divide by 1/10. Okay, now think about this. Think about this. There are 10 tenths in 5 wholes. I'm sorry, there are 50. They messed me up there. They took away this 1 whole because you know that there are 10 in 1 whole. So how many tenths in 5 wholes? Well, 50. Okay, so that equals 50. But we also have 2 extra tenths here. So how many tenths in 2/10? Well, 2. That's logical. Okay, so how many tenths in 5 and 2/10? 52. Okay. See what we did there? So 5 and 2/10 divided by 1/10 is 52. It seems to make sense. Let's try the next one. 8 and 7/10 divided by 1/10. Okay. So there are 80 tenths in 8 wholes. You already know that. And there are how many tenths in 7/10? Well, that's pretty easy. There are 7. Okay, so there are 87 tenths in 8 and 7 tenths? Okay. See, we're dividing by decimals. Very cool. Okay, next one. 5 divided by 1/100th. Oh my goodness. Well, 1/100th. 5 divided by 1/100th. All right, we're not doing tenths anymore. Now we're doing hundredths. So how many hundredths in a whole? Well, there's 100 hundredths in a whole, right? Yes. That would make 5 hundredths in 5 wholes. Okay. Now these are all hundredths. Can you see they're following a pattern here? They're starting out simple and then they're getting a little bit more complicated. Okay, so 8 divided by 1/100th equals, okay. So there are 100 hundredths in 1 whole, which would make 800 hundredths in 8 wholes. All right, now we're gonna add some tenths here. 5 2/10 divided by 1/100th. Okay. So there are 5 hundredths in 5 wholes. And now think about this. 5.2, that's actually like 20 hundredths, isn't it? Okay. 2/10, this is 2/10, is the same as 20 hundredths. You remember that. Okay, they just added a 0. So there are 20 hundredths in 2/10, right? Which would make, so we've got 500 plus 20, which would make 520 hundredths in 5 2/10. Okay. All right, let's try this next one. I don't want you to get confused because we're adding a 0 here, but we went from tenths to hundredths. So 8 7/10 divided by 1/100th equals what? Well, there are 800 hundredths and 8 wholes. And remember, 7/10 is the same as 70 hundredths. Right? Those two are the same. So there are 70 hundredths in 7/10, which would make 870 hundredths in 8 7/10. Okay. This is not too complicated. We're just practicing what we've done, and we're just thinking about it in different ways. So let's move on to the next page. You've got this? All right. So now we're just going to divide. 6 divided by 1/10. Well, how many tenths are in 6 wholes? 60, right? 18 divided by 1/10. Well, how many tenths fit into 18 wholes? 180. Okay. 6 wholes. Now be careful. This is 1/100th. Okay, so 1/100th would go into 6 wholes 600 times. All right, you're with me right now, I think. Okay, all right, now we're getting into some decimals here. 1 7/10 divided by 1/10 would equal, well, how many times does a tenth go into 1 whole? 10 times. How many times does it go into 7/10? 7 times. So 10 plus 7 is 17. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Now 31 divided by 1/100th. Okay, so you know that 100 would go into 1, And that would make 3,000 go into 30, which would be 3,100. Are you starting to see the pattern? I hope you are. Okay. Next one, 11 divided by 1/100th. Okay. Now, 1/100th would go into 10 1,000 times, and 1 100 times. So 1,000 plus 100 is 1,100. 125 divided by 1/10. Okay. So here, think about this. 1/10 would go into 5 50 times, 20 200 times, and 100 1,000 times. So 1,000, wait a minute. Yep, 1,250. Do you want me to write that one out? I think you got it. Okay. 3 74/100ths divided by 1/100th. Okay. Well, it's going to go into 3 holes 300 times, right? So I'll just write the 3. Well, here. I want to take this one a little step by step, just in case. 100th will go into 3 holes 100 times, or 300 times. And it will 100th will go into, can I use this as 74/100ths? Or do you want me to do 7/10ths and 400ths? Let's do 74/100ths, right? Which would be the same as 74. So our answer is going to be 374. Okay. Next one. 12 5/10ths divided by 1/100th. Okay, so just thinking here. 1/100th would go into 5/10ths. So 5/10ths, I'm going to write this here, 5/10ths is the same as 50/100ths. Okay, so 50 there, and then okay. So 1/100th would go in there 50 times. So here we've got 50 times. And it would go into 2 holes 200 times. And it would go into 10 ones or 110. It would go in 1,000 times. Right? So our answer is 1,250. All right. Okay, yeah. These get a little trickier. Some of them get a little trickier, and then I have to stop and think and just make sure I'm doing it right. Yep. Young bought $4.60 worth of bubble gum. Bubble gum. Do you guys know that song? Have I sung that with you? Ba-yum, ba bubble gum. Ba-yum, ba bubble gum. My mommy gave me a penny. If I haven't sung that for you, ask me about it tomorrow. Young bought $4.60 worth of bubble gum. Each piece of gum cost 10 cents. How many pieces of bubble gum did Young buy? So we've got $4.60 divided by 10 cents, right? Which is the same as saying $4 or 4.6 or 4 6/10 divided by 1/10, which equals 46 pieces of bubble gum. You know what? You could probably ask your sisters and brothers who were in my classes last year or the year before. I haven't done much singing since we've been in quarantine, but they know it. Ask them. Okay. Cheryl solved a problem. 84 divided by 1/100th equals 8,400. Is that right? 84 divided by 1/100th. Well, 100 would go there 400 times, and 80, 8,000 times. Yes. Okay, so she has the right answer. Just double checking her work. Jane said, your answer is wrong because when you divide, the quotient is always smaller than the whole amount you started with. For example, 6 divided by 2 equals 3. Well, Jane is saying that this 3 is smaller than this 6. So, and it always has to be smaller. And here she said, well, 100 divided by 4 is 25. So this 25 is smaller than the 100. Is she correct? Because when Cheryl solved the problem, she got 84 divided by 1/100th equals 8,400. Well, who's correct? Well, we know Cheryl got the right answer. We've been practicing it. So Cheryl's correct. When you divide, or when we divide, the quotient, the answer, doesn't have to be smaller. Now, when you were younger and when we weren't using fractions and we weren't using decimals, then the answer was always going to be bigger because we were using whole numbers. But now that we're using fractions and decimals, when we divide, the number can be smaller because we're using numbers smaller than 1, right? We talked about that too. Okay, the U.S. Mint sells 2 ounces of American Eagle gold coins to a collector. Okay, so in the United States, I'm going to explain this. The mint is the place that makes the money. Do you guys, have you seen, what's that TV show called that everyone is watching right now? It's on Netflix where they went in to rob the Spanish mint. I bet you know what I'm talking about. And they wear the red hoodies and the mask. Oh, I can't think of the name right now. But that Spanish mint in that is what they're talking about. They're talking about in the United States. The United States Mint is where they make money, or especially where they make coins, which we also don't have in Venezuela. But 2 ounces of American Eagle coins, so they're coins with an eagle on them, okay? And they're usually worth $1 or gold, right? There's little my eagle. To a collector, each coin weighs 1/10 of an ounce. How many gold coins were sold to the collector? So he sells 2 ounces of American Eagle gold coins. Okay, and each coin weighs 1/10 of an ounce. Okay, so here's my 2 ounces. Erase that. I'm going to think of the name of that. I'm sure you already know the name of it. What is the name of that show? It's got a different name in English than it does in Spanish. But you've seen it. It's on Netflix. Okay, so 2 ounces. And each coin weighs 1/10 of an ounce. So 1/10, you know that 2 divided by 1/10 equals 20, right? Because there's 2 ounces and each one got divided into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And each one got divided into 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each of these coins is worth 1/10 of an ounce. So altogether, there were 20 gold coins. Okay? I know you're screaming at the screen right now because you all know the name of that show. And on the whole first season, they're still in the Spanish Mint trying to print more money. Oh, what's the name of it? I'm not going to think of it. I even saw they were selling masks. They were selling masks here in town with the face. Anyway, you'll think of it and then you'll tell me. Okay, and now that we've finished the problem set, and even the actress from that show is on a music video right now. with another Spanish singer, and you know that one too. Oh, my pop culture is just, it's not in my brain right now. Okay, anyway, go over to your exit ticket, and it's just asking you pretty easy questions, okay? And I think that you can solve those. If you need to think about them and write out stuff to help you answer the questions, show your work, okay? Don't just put an answer because I'm going to think you used your calculator. It's not going to work for me. You actually need to show your work, okay? And then when you finish that, you can come back to lesson 29, okay? Thank you.